Good morning, teacher. Today I'm going to speak the oral approach and situational language teaching. This approach was developed by British applied linguistics in the 1930s to the 1960s, and which had an impact on language courses which survive in some still being used today. The oral approach and situational language teaching relied on the structural view of language. Both speech and structure were seen to be the basis of language and especially speaking ability. Vocabulary was seen as an essential component for reading proficiency. The second emphasis was on reading skills. Also, the interest was focused on the grammatical content of a language course. It has been believed that an analysis of English and a classifications of its principal grammatical structures into sentence patterns or situational tables could be used to assist learners to internalize the rules and sentence structures. The structural view of language is the view behind the oral approach and situational language teaching. Speech was viewed as the basic language and structure as being at the heart of speaking ability. The theory of learning underlying situational language teaching is behaviorism, addressing more the processes than the conditions of learning. It includes these principles. 1. Language learning is habit formation. 2. Mistakes are bad and should be avoided, and they make bad habits. 3. Language skills are learned more effectively if they are presented orally first, then in written form. 4. The meanings of words can be learned only in linguistic and cultural context. The main objectives of this approach are teach grammatical command of the four basic skills of language throughout the course or throughout structure, accuracy in both pronunciation and grammar, ability to respond quickly and accurately in speech situations, automatic control of basic structures and sentence patterns. The situational language teaching uses a structural syllable and a word list, where the structures are always taught within sentences and vocabulary is chosen according to how well it enables sentences patterns to be taught. The types of learning and teaching activities. Situational language teaching implies a situational approach to presenting new sentence patterns and drill-based manners of practicing them. By situational, I mean the use of concrete objects, pictures, and realia, which together with action gestures can be used to demonstrate the meaning of a new language items. Educational language teaching is dependent upon textbooks, which contains organized lessons planned about different grammatical structures, and also visual aids, which are produced by the teacher or commercially produced. These consist on word charts, flashcards, pictures, and other similar stuff. The role of the learner here in this approach is to listen and repeat what the teacher says, and also respond questions and commands. The teacher role is to present, to serve as a model, then the teacher becomes the skillful conductor. The procedure of this approach follow the the most typical procedures in situational language teaching, which are the moving from control to freer practice of structures. The procedures that move from oral use of sense patterns to their automatic use in speech, reading, or writing. A typical situational language teaching lesson would start with a stress and intonation practice. Then the main body of the lesson may consist of pronunciation revision. This is to prepare for new work if necessary, presentation of new structure and vocabulary, then oral practice, and of course a reading of material on the new structure of written exercises. Class with oral approach method. Classes with the oral approach method have certain advantages and disadvantages. Let me start mentioning the advantages. These kind of lessons are suitable for introduction to the new language, also to have oral production without risk. It's an accessible method for teachers if they have good curriculum. It is a method that does not require many resources. It is a good method if we use it in teaching pronunciation and vocabulary. It's a strong emphasis on oral practice, grammar, and sentence patterns conform to the intuitions of many practical-oriented classroom teachers. Now, I would like to mention some disadvantages of this method. This approach can make a boring teacher who is not sure about he is teaching. The learner has no control over the content of learning. He is required simply to listen and repeat what the teacher says and to respond questions and commands. So my personal point of view is that we should use this method for certain purposes and combine with other methods like the translation grammar method or the communicative approach. So English should be a combination of methods. So I found this method quite interesting. Thank you very much, teacher. I hope you have taken my exposition as understandable.